Good evening. Welcome to our budget review. This is a panel that has been set up to take in and deconstruct what was given to the country today in the parliament. I am joined here by businessman and former Senator Robert Amar,
Correct. Good afternoon.
PEP chairman Felicia Holder,
Good afternoon.
no stranger to the public, Clyde Weatherhead,
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
former mayor of Arima, Gus Youssef.
Good afternoon.
We sat here and took in the bulk of what took place today in the parliament. My notes: nothing to stimulate growth, nothing to improve GDP, nothing to create independence or to motivate or mobilize, handouts to buy votes, to solve problems they themselves caused over the past 4 years, if you counted just this administration, 9 years for the last two. Our budget review 2020. Robert, let's start with you.
Well, I want to start by saying thanks again for having me here. I hope that my contributions that aired, people have a sense of appreciation, because the biggest problem in Trinidad and Tobago is we have nationals who really are not participating in the democracy. We have a very docile society, a society that understands what's on the table and really doesn't appreciate what's for tomorrow. So
That's what that budget was for.
what the government has done based on this whole situation, and he was very boastful about it, in that he eloquently said, we the government take our responsibility very strong. This is not his exact words, but it boils down to this. And that what is going to happen is that we're really not worried, although there are 2 or 3 elections coming. We're going to do what is in the best interest of the people. He's not wrong, because what he did was in the best interest of the people, especially when we think of what wins elections. Elections are won by votes. It's not won by common sense. Common sense will never lead you to an electoral position. BS will lead you to an electoral position. And that is what Mr. Imbert has done as the Minister of Finance. He has sweetened up the pie. He has told everybody, I'll carry up your wage, $2.50. I'm now going to make you daily paid workers who are government. I'm going to give you a pension. I'm going to organize now and set up and make sure that, I take VAT off all of these things. I'm going to arrange all of these niceties. I put in all these things on the table for you, because that is the 450,000 people that are jumping up that were dissatisfied for the last 4 years. That after that day, hear what? Imbert picture on everybody bedhead tonight. When a man gone to bed tonight with the wife, he only looking at Imbert and saying, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but Robert, you could say that, but I mean, and the timing, I watched the timing of a lot that they want to roll out. But when you impact 194,000 people with a certain amount of money, and that hits the economy, it impacts inflation. The same money that you're getting today, 3 months down the road, the cost of living going to go up to match it. They did nothing to reduce the cost of living. They did nothing to close the gap, increasing how much money you get and how much money it costs to live. You end up at a zero position.
You and I will have to agree to disagree. I mean, from a political point of view,
It
for
was
the
a
government,
beautiful political budget in the short term.
correct. And the people, I made that statement at the beginning. The people who are the ones that are being wooed are the ones who are just thinking short term.
Let's just bring everybody in to get their opinions on it, and then we could start our debate. Clyde?
Well, I like the almost last sentence of the budget presentation. It encapsulates exactly what it is. We have achieved our manifesto promises.
Yeah, boy.
This budget could have been delivered at the Tobago Council meeting yesterday, the PNM Council meeting
This
in
was a
Tobago.
Pegans Corner budget.
Or it could have been on any platform in any constituency. This is not for Parliament. Throughout the speech, the Minister of Finance talked about what the opposition did, what them over there did, and this big figure of 62 billion in 2014. But in 2019, he increases the deficit in the budget from 4 billion last year projected to 5 point something billion
look,
this year.
He has an amazing talent to be able to talk out of both sides of his head, I watched him in the beginning talk about a reset of global growth from 3.5% to 3%, to call that negative. you still have 3% growth internationally while we were going through a recession.
Well-
He flatlined. He flatlined 2019 to say that we had zero, not negative, not positive. When did we come out of the
0.9.
recession? Okay, but when did we come out of the recession? Where was the positive growth? That because it's 2 quarters of negative growth. That
Three quarters.
3 quarters of negative growth is a recession. Gassan, where was the quarters of positive growth to say we're out of it?
When I listened to the budget, it was very boring to me because it's same old every year, except this one had a voter component to it.
A
You
voter
know,
component, yeah.
There's a voters component to it where in the end he throws some goodies for the voters, but nothing to carry the country forward. Nothing whatsoever. I thought we're moving away from CPEP and URP mentality and put them somewhere, equip them to work in the community and enhance the productivity of the country. Instead, you increase CPEP and URP salaries by some 15%. 15% of $70 is $10, you know. So, you know,
Exactly.
cheap kind of politics. What I was looking forward to, I did not get, is for instance, the ease to do business in this country. We were in the index 65, in the world index 65. We have moved over to 105, being the highest it was. Nothing about that. From 4 years ago, we moved
On the
from
transparency index,
on the
corruption index.
on the
Ease
ease
of
to do
doing
business
business
index.
corruption.
On the ease to do
We are
business.
105 now.
Yes,
Jamaica is 72.
or 70 something.
Where Guyana is. You know that number?
The point is that so nothing to enhance and the welfare of the country is a really political budget. He talk, it's very boring, and he come with the goodies for the voters. That's all.
I mean,
Felicia.
same. I have the same
Take.
on this. Everybody, we projected that this was going to be the sweetheart budget of the reigning government right now. In the next year's elections, we're expecting a
This was the
local.
icing on the cake.
Yeah,
wasn't
we're
it?
expecting a local government election. So nobody was really expecting much things to go up. And basically, what we were expecting, the treats, the sweeties, the pelts, we see it. I mean, they're talking about increasing minimum wage from $15 to $17.50. When you calculate that for a minimum wage earner, they're only earning $400 above what they're earning now. Rent
month.
on a whole in Trinidad and Tobago is astronomical. People are paying all $3,500 in rent. When you have to pay figures like that and you're earning $2,800 a month, how are minimum wage earners really living? And we didn't speak. You didn't hear anything about making minimum wage a living wage. You didn't hear anything about reducing the price of food. I didn't hear anything about social development. You heard about building recreational facilities, but a lot of those
Actually, you're
facilities-
correct. When he ran the list, he didn't give us a social development.
You heard
number.
nothing about social development. So I mean, this is my take on the budget so far.
I wanna just get back right into it one time because so these are the notes I was taking while he was speaking. We're fixing leaks as the problem with water.
Which is a wrong side approach.
Since 1958, they've been publishing in the newspaper that by 1960 we will have all the water
Yes.
problems solved, right?
Yeah.
And we know that we get at least 10 times the water we consume as rain. But they don't seem to understand that at some point, some of this capital expenditure that you're spending on a lot of nonsense, you could have spent redirecting Maraval River, Diego Martin River, all of these rivers to reservoirs and to dams and to retention ponds and to hold the water. The best he could have pat himself on the back was whatever it is they built behind the lighthouse to prevent a flood. That water is just a dump into the sea too.
Well, it's a dump into the sea.
We have no idea about holding, treating, distributing.
Well, again, you know, when you look at it, if we really have to look at the budget, I think the minister used the wrong song, as I was saying earlier. He should have used Bob Marley, Don't Worry, Be Happy. I think that is the song he should have been advocating.
No, I like that all of y'all talking about the politics of this budget, but a budget is not supposed to be a political tool.
But the reality is, you know, you think differently. You think about the solution. They think about keeping in power. There's a big difference, you know. You have to appreciate and understand that real people think about real things, while fake people think about fake
Yeah,
things.
but they are destroying the country.
That again is your view, and the people who are the ones that are being destroyed enjoy that destruction.
So tell me then, if you okay, so I will let you continue as devil's advocate. Where is the $15 billion that was leaning on Petrotrin?
Well, again, that is in the
mention
consolidated.
it.
No, but it's somewhere there because the state have to pay.
I listened to his talk about Petrochen. He conflate, he misdirect, he deflect, he distract. But all you saying to the public, and I just want to throw this out here, that's the only thing I talk about Petrochen. If you say that you lean the $15 billion off of Petrochen, the debt that was leaning hard on Petrochen, and the same workers that was running it could have continued running it, why did you need to shut it down? Why did you need to sell it when all you had to do was lean the debt off?
Well, what happened is that you simply reconfigured the debt. And you
Move
see,
it from one part of the balance sheet and next
so
part.
the
That's Enron bookkeeping.
yeah, so the Trinidad Holdings Company or whatever the hell its name is now
A
The
debt
holder
owning
company.
the debt.
A debt company.
Yes. So it is not on the Petrotrain legacy, it's not on the drilling company.
Patriot.
So it is there on this thing that replaced Petrotrain, but it's not on Petrotrain
Okay, I get
itself.
that. I get that.
So-
all I'm asking you is
And
this.
and here's the sleight of hand kind of stuff, because that is part of the sleight of hand. Here's the magician. Debt to GDP ratio we have made to 62% this year, and we will average 69% in 2020. So he has just told the country
He deferred it.
early up in the budget speech that by 2020 we are going to raise the debt to GDP ratio by another 7%, and nobody is going to take that on, because here you're getting a little CPEP money, you're getting a little thing,
Okay, but
you
to
could
the
buy a
people-
bulb and put it in your house.
We will come back to the bulbs because that was a strong feature in this budget. But to the people who don't understand what the GDP, the gross domestic product of a country is, help me understand. I mean, help them understand how this country, that is all of these things that they hear people say that we're the third wealthiest in the Western world. How do we have such a ridiculously small GDP? Our gross domestic product, Robert was talking earlier about the Chinese model that does not disconnect GDP from
People,
the public.
citizens.
We've created a handout nation where that trying to remember that book we read when we was young, when he asked for more. I feel like everybody in the country go and line up here, get this, go and line up there, get that. It's not a country where you could wake up in the morning motivated, mobilized, and go out there and do something.
Give him a little credit that he was trying in the whole philosophical side of the budget when he indicated that from the point of view of the persons who are lining up to potentially buy a HTC house, and saying no matter what they can't. Because the minimum wage that they're working for will only allow them to stretch to where they are. It's a fact. You had talk about home ownership. He has talked in this whole situation about introducing a low rate interest position. Any unintelligent person that is dealing with mortgages and things like that will know that is where they'll kill you. They charge you the interest over the 30 years. By the time you finish paying the interest, it worth twice the house. You had identified that in a policy through the organization, through your PEP organization.
And I still want to know
that really advocates that this situation had to be that the person must be able to buy this house, especially if they are low interest earner or low income earner, and own the house without having to worry about paying interest. That means to say the same bond that he's talking about. That's a part of the social fabric that you have to fix, because the more people that own homes in the country is the more dynamic the country becomes.
absolutely crime
Right?
drops in countries
Obviously.
where home ownership, the crucible of the family, the community. A nation is a collection of communities. A community is a collection of neighborhoods.
And that is a part of the whole thing that he's trying, but he comes back and he says, they are now thinking that land was never made available to the people, and that's a disrespect to the previous government, who had land for the landless as a policy, which never was continued. That is a disrespect to
No,
John
but he is a
Humphrey.
disingenuous man. When he took responsibility for Gate, he forgot that they built Gate on dollar for dollar.
Correct.
And I was in town for that. So I know that a lot of people listening to this budget, but I don't think we have a strong enough opposition to take on this government.
But it's not the opposition, Philip. You and I talked this talk already. This is about society. When you look at what is happening in the Middle East, when you look at what is happening in Hong Kong, when you look at what is happening now in Ecuador, it's people that create
In
a
Haiti.
transition.
Haiti, they
Okay, so Haiti, but Haiti is a separate case by itself. That one is in such a traumatic position, you really can't line that as anything. But when you see what has happened in Trinidad and Tobago when the petrol price went up here, and he was so blatant, disrespectful to the country, to the people, and the Prime Minister of the country allowed him to continue. He said, well, I carried up and they didn't riot. I carried up another and they didn't riot. Hey, they carried up in that South America, Central American country the other day, and the place was a mess.
On fire. They rioted.
All right. No, the same thing has happened with regards to Hong Kong, where they want to bring in new laws, new regulations, and the people are saying, well, okay, we don't have a problem with it, but sit down and talk to us.
Yeah.
The problem in Trinidad and Tobago continues at leadership, and again we go back to China. Mao, when he was making the transition, realized all of a sudden, because there was social disruption in China, people in Trinidad believe because it's communist, they don't rebel. They was rebelling there, especially the farmers. And he took all of his lieutenants around him, 8 of them, and he farmed them out through the whole of China and say, let's go. You go talk to those, I'll go talk to those, and then came back in a assembly of 8,000 people to forge a plan forward. Again, this whole situation.
And that's the point. Where's our plan forward? Where's our vision for Trinidad and Tobago? You could sit here, all of you could sit here and frame the conversation from the position of every nation's view of itself and where it's trying to take its people. That is what a budget is supposed to do. What did this budget do?
This budget guaranteed.
Both an election?
That is what this budget did.
It is a visionless
That's what it
budget.
did. It
It's
bought
a
an election.
visionless. It's a visionless. But he didn't tell you anything about the future. Where he carrying Trinidad tomorrow. He didn't talk about
Where's
that.
the middle class in this
compared
budget?
every measure, his measure, PNM. PNM did this
Yeah.
as compared to UNC.
Where was the
Right.
middle class
It's
in this
political
budget?
meeting. This was a political meeting. This
Yes,
was a political
you see,
speech.
I'm picking up from where you are to say also that it's a disrespect to this country for people who are empowered to run the country to continue when they are making statements to say PNM.
Yes.
This is
You
not PNM.
cannot
You are
do
the
that in
government.
exactly.
You are the government.
That's my
And you know how
point.
many times he said PNM in
Well,
his
more
speech?
times than the
Right,
budget have
right,
words.
right. Finish your point.
Gus issue about the vision. You know what is the timeline on this vision here in this budget
1 year.
speech?
1 year.
December
2019.
2019,
Yeah.
local government election.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So a whole set of measures are to begin
Yeah,
on December
the
1st, 2019.
Yeah, could predict that the
So,
local government
and
election coming
after this
immediately after
debate today, in a historic development in the parliament, there is to be a debate on an EBC
that.
report
No, but they didn't
to
continue.
facilitate.
They didn't continue. They put the house to come back on Friday.
Yeah, totally do.
Yes,
Somebody-
but the fact is that they put that there on the
On the
agenda
other
for
paper.
today,
I understand.
and it tells you
Telegraph.
what the motive is.
Telegraph that.
That this thing has to be passed. This report from the EBC has to be passed to facilitate the calling of the local government election.
But
So
in
the,
on,
the targeted time is December. So the budget itself is now targeted to an election date.
well
It
again,
is not about country, it's not about economy, it's not about fiscal
Somebody
measures.
used the term earlier before we started filming that this was a underwhelming budget, and especially on the heels of 2020 and the big vision that we had for this country. I'm looking and reviewing this budget, and honestly, I don't see anything in terms of national development, in terms of
No,
diversification.
but it's not about that.
I know, but
No,
The
no.
point
she-
should
I'm
be-
sure she gets that, but the point should be that it should be.
That's
what
exactly,
it should be.
should be that.
You see, that's
How do
this,
we fix
this
that
week
pride?
when I said
How do we fix that? We can't accept at some point.
how we
At,
fix
at
it.
some point, the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to collectively say that if you dumb us all down and force us to be URP and CPEP workers, at some point, you will rebuild the plantation of Trinidad and Tobago.
but we haven't reached
Well,
there yet.
well-
We haven't reached there yet.
But you talk about 194,000 people
We
being
still- we
impacted
still-
now,
we
but you
still
don't give
haven't-
them a handout.
Let me tell you something, Philip. I don't want to burst your bubble. You have plenty great things you're thinking about for this country, but at the end of the day, the reality is the reality. The people of this country are not thinking about themselves. This society has become numb.
Or is it that they're thinking about themselves
I
too
agree
much?
with Robert. The society politically become numb.
Numb.
Now the politics in Trinidad and Tobago gone to the race-based, the
Ethnic-based society.
the two cult are in charge of this
You
country.
can't
And I
keep-
don't know why.
But you can't keep reinforcing that idea and I want to tell you why. Because every single poll, and the people are giving us, people are giving us all of us who speak on behalf of the country, all of us who aspire to make a better Trinidad and Tobago, in all the different organizations, the people are saying to us, when NACTA and Nigel Henry and all these people call them, and they say, no, I don't want to do it PNM, I don't want to do it UNC.
Yeah, but Phillip,
I know that you're going to tell me that we're going to end up with a next minority government, that out of the 100% that eligible to vote, 51% vote and 26% vote PNM. When you have a situation like 12 and 13% turnout in Dago Martin for the local government, that is not a properly constituted representative of the people.
yeah, but it is what
But
we
that-
have to
that-
live with. That
but
is
that
what
is-
the
that
Constitution
that is the political
That is
system
our
of Trinidad and
reality,
Tobago.
it is not what we have to live with.
This week, I asked on Facebook, is the budget something with a non-disclosure clause in it? And I reminded people, you remember how budget used to happen long time? A man walk in the Red House with a black
Yeah,
briefcase,
briefcase. Lock up.
and they say, wait, we know we busting
what
a mark
coming.
on we. So I asked a simple question. When are we going to be involved in formulating the budget? Meaning we, the people of this country.
When we vote a government into office built on
When
that. You
when
can
we
have
create
DOMA.
a system
You
in
can
which
have
we have
DOMA.
control
When
of
I
it,
read DOMA's list, DOMA only care about DOMA business.
of course,
The Chamber of Commerce represents business interests and cares about their interests.
of course.
The government and the parliament is supposed to care about national interests. But that's been long
But they
gone.
also care about their business,
Well,
which is to retain
state
power.
power, yeah, of course.
So
Yeah,
that is
it's a quid pro
that is
quo.
why this whole budget speech, what 4 hours of that platform
Yeah,
talk.
of
That
nothing,
is what this
of
is.
nothing.
you're getting 10 million LED bulbs.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
light up
line
the
up.
platform.
Let's line up. Like we
You
got,
say,
if you're
man.
entitled to get 5, you get 5, I get 5.
No,
And if you
listen,
get
I
10,
hear
I
the
get
man
10.
say they're going to save money by turning off lights. Now, let me tell you, I don't want to laugh, eh? Because when I drive down south every evening, Taruba Stadium light up like they.
Most of the grounds. Anyway.
They light up like
No,
this. So,
but I, think,
nobody
I don't think it's fair to say that. I mean,
But he
sometimes
said that when you come out of your office and he telling all of them who working in government office, turn on the light.
here's what I have offered to the people of this country. The system like is involved in developed countries, which is as you leave the office, the lights goes off. I mean, you can't tell me we're building modern, technologically advanced green buildings and we don't have the damn facility. And when you leave the office, the light is turn on. In my office, the light is turn off when I walk outside. When I walk back, it turn on. I mean, that is what you call advanced thinking.
But you know, it's even more advanced thinking. The natural gas that we used to flare and burn off could have run this whole country for free.
Yes.
Because that's what used to run power gen. That could run the country for free. And I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying we could have.
No, but you can't run from the fact that the majority of the generation plants we have running in Trinidad are still working natural gas today.
That's what I'm saying.
They all work with natural
And
gas.
that
The
natural
problem,
and that natural gas that they're working on, but right now, you could run it for free. We have enough ability.
so we had to take another diversion. Sit down and ask yourself why the government did not keep metal here. We are paying for power that we don't use. If the plant put out 100 megawatt and we only use 50, we still have to pay for 100.
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it. So, who was the idiot?
There's a company called the Willow Group in Trinidad that came and met with the last government. And they met with them representing the largest manufacturer of renewable energy in the world. And that company wanted to come and set up in Trinidad and Tobago wind technology. And using the East Coast, Manzanilla to Toco, put up wind farms that could have power the Caribbean. You could have sell power to the Caribbean and power Trinidad for free. We know in 2019 giving people tax break for water heater on your roof and solar water heater.
But you have to think another step
In the
because
United States of America, I just want to tell you this, Musk and them creating panels that you build your house, your whole house generating electricity
Elon Musk.
and sending current back into the grid. At the end of the month, you might get a check instead of a bill.
Yeah, but the other thing you have
But
to
you know why we're
remember.
not doing that here?
Why?
Because the politics of it, what we will do with the tech workers, them as voters, they don't have the brain to see how to direct them to something else.
But the same
Then we will have no use for TNT.
But the same renewable energy company is where you want to redirect your people. This is the growth. This
They
is
don't know how
global
to do
growth.
it. Look, I want to go back to Petrotrin and the closure of the refinery. I remember the same OWTU proposed to take it over before they closed down.
And he laughed at them.
And he said, no, they are not, their
serious.
proposal
They're not
is not serious. The Prime Minister. You closed down the company. They paid $2.7 billion in severance pay to the same workers, and now you turn around now to give it to OWTU. Why didn't you then offer it to the workers and give them shares in the severance pay?
sense.
We
Makes
will have
sense.
saved 2.7 billion,
And still have it
and they
running.
will have be running all the
Absolutely.
time, and they will be owners. Right now, OWTU owners, not the workers. And to me, that will be the better option, and we will have
But
saved
we-
2.7
Better
billion.
option.
Am I making sense?
You're making
Robert?
sense.
We're talking about that for years, Robert. You
But
told
this is
one
the
of them.
mismanagement. That is how they are. Mismanagement.
Robert, I remember we had a conversation with union leaders once, and we were talking about parity and equity and shares. That if you gave the workers in a company shares in the company, they now have a vested interest in increasing profit and minimizing
And
loss.
productivity, you increase productivity.
According to some statistics, right, Trinidad and Tobago is the worst performing country GDP growth of oil producers between 2009 and 2018. We're the worst. Everybody else is 1%, 1.5. Trinidad is minus 0.5. Our efficiency in this country has a lot to need, but we don't have a driving force at the top that
Because
understands
you
about
have
the
no vision for the
efficiency.
country. You talk about agro-processing in the budget, but you give us a allocation of 780 million in a budget where you say you want to stimulate agriculture. What they're doing is divesting lands to friends and financiers. I want to know more about this, a repo livestock farm, because did they sell that? I want to ask Clyde, I want to ask you, Robert. In the budget, he said he's coming straight. 77 companies were interested in Petrotrin. 52 refused to sign your NDA. What is in your non-disclosure agreement that 52 international companies said they're not interested in signing?
No, it makes no sense.
How could you lose that? When you compare Beowulf, 42,000 a month rent offer, to Patriot and OWTU, nothing. Beowulf offer better.
7.9 billion over 15 years.
Yeah, when you
Compared
calculate
to
it.
700 million.
Yeah,
More sleight of hand.
And we
More
are
magic.
told,
More
and we are
magic.
told in this budget
More
speech
magic.
that $700 million is the best offer they got.
somebody didn't
You
calculate.
also told that
Somebody
they were
offer
going
you
ones-
cash,
So the
$7.9
Minister
billion.
of Finance used parliamentary privilege to lie to the population.
Well, he said it in his
That
media
is
conference the
misbehavior
other
in
day.
public office. He should be
He
taken
said
before
it in
the
his media
privileges and
conference the other
committee.
day.
Why is the Speaker of the House?
I haven't heard anybody talk about it.
No, but this Beowulf offer has been, the conversation has been out there for a long time. And I would like to know, publish the list of the other 52 companies.
Yeah,
Let
but
us know why.
Just take the last three. And he said net present value of 700 million over 10 years, over 13 years, is more than 7.9 billion over 15 years.
How's that?
You tell me, I don't know.
Colmonomics.
Like,
Colmonomics.
and you
That's
know,
Colmonomics.
you know what the light bulbs and the change in
The structure with light
the
bulbs.
water coolers in the government offices remind me of? I worked at the ADB, and back in the 80s when things were getting bad with the economy, the general manager of the bank said, you know what, things getting hard, so here what we gonna do? We gonna stop buying ice in ice cube in bag. We gonna buy block of ice, and we gonna stop buying newspapers. That gonna save the bank. And when
Turn off the lights.
and when we said as the union, we want to talk about the bank, and we came up and we said, listen, turn over your short-term loans quicker and you're going to have the money turning over. He said the union had no business discussing where the bank going. So that is
ADB.
yeah.
And we've
That
had
is- that is the-
ministers, government ministers, over the life of the ADB, having massive loans written off
Yeah.
that ended up owning state lands that were bought with ADB loans, and they never paid.
And this is the same logic that Imbert is telling us in this budget speech. Here is where we're going.
So
we're
you
going
were
to, we're going
able,
to put out land in this place, that place, the other place, so people could set up factories there, and they will enjoy a new kind of status that we were given to the free zones. That's what he said inside this budget speech. about, I can't remember the millions of,
136 million is the one I remember for the one in Caroni. Was it
right,
that,
and
was
then
it
there
that
was,
place?
then there were 270 something
Yeah,
million acres.
yeah.
Right, so that's 500 million acres of land going to these people. And you're going to have these preferential terms. This is industrialization by invitation, still eating away at Trinidad and Tobago.
You see,
This is the same economic policy of 1947, you know.
one of the things that happened, for instance, with those pieces of land, as I tell people, I had gone to the minister previously, which is the Minister of Trade, because we wanted to build a motorcar racetrack. They had this 500 acres of land sitting down in Caroni. They want to put down small business inside of it, development. And I'm saying, well, show me what development you're going to put on that big chunk of land. How much warehouse shells you're going to put down there? And how is that going to generate the money in an economy where we are dependent on 100% of importation? It cannot work.
I asked about Intech. Intech, right there in Wallafield. That Intech Park. Drive in there now. Nature take it back. $100 million gone. Everything now is bush and grass. There's nothing happening there. The only office that was in Intech Park was E-Tech office.
You're right.
But now they're moving UTT into there.
But again, you know,
But you sit down there and you let the man say, and he pat himself on the back, that we operationalizing procurement. 5 years to operationalize procurement.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. And then he still tell us 2020.
5 years.
It's not supposed to be done in this.
That was supposed to be done in the last administration. Timothy Hamel-Smith was in charge of operation. You remember that? He was the person.
Yeah, he was supposed to make that work. He had gotten at that point, and then everything just turned loose.
So the point is, if you did that earlier than 2020, the cabinet couldn't sit down and take over the procurement of boats from the PATT.
No, could not take it over.
They couldn't go and make a deals about buying boat and doing this and ordering boat from Australia and this and that. The Prime Minister
featured in this budget.
couldn't say to this country, I am the negotiator in chief. He couldn't say that if the procurement was in place.
That's right.
So you couldn't put it in place. So you put it there when it reached the end.
At the end of the 5 years.
We're going to take a short break, pay some bills. When we come back, we get right back into it. And we're back. And continuing right from where we left off.
You know, and next thing, as a taxpayers, don't I deserve an explanation from the minister why on your own, where you have an offer for the refinery, 700 million US, 4 billion TT upfront, but you say no, take 3 years moratorium and then pay over 10 years. Don't I, as a taxpayer who paid 2.7 billion in severance pay, and now this, you owe me an explanation?
He said that he and the government made that decision.
He and who?
But that's what he said. He said
Cabinet.
after
The cabinet.
this is what and what people don't understand is the
I'm not
cabinet
saying no,
is
but
not.
explain to me how you did that.
The cabinet is a group of my closest friends in the government. So it's not that the cabinet is an official thing. It has a title, but it was started because one of the kings actually had a cabinet in England and used to take his closest confidence from Parliament, from government, inside the cabinet to talk to them. The cabinet saying that it decided, you didn't know that, the cabinet saying that it decided to defer that payment means what? On what?
To foster social stability. That's what the man said today. so that the fence line communities will have economic. Who shut down the economy and put them? Who shut down the refinery and put them in a problem?
You know, that's why $100 billion US probably coming from away. They have a partner, a foreign partner. So
Why not be foreign? Why not be foreign? That's why I said they're solving problems that they cause.
That's right. That's
Well,
what
you come full 360 and you have to ask yourself the question about the Clico also. When you sit down and you turn around and he says 15 billion. If you go back, go back historically.
Where's the rest of the 10 billion that was the original bailout, and where's the $20 billion in interest that should have earned?
That's right. Where's the interest?
Where the $20 billion that should have earned?
But you see, all of those are the issues, Philip, that the Trinidad and Tobago population doesn't care anything about. Trinidad and Tobago population only care about tonight when they go home, that they get a little more money in the pay pack, that they are happy that they're going to be getting severance now that they are daily paid workers, and that certain issues of foodstuffs is going to come down in price, and that now he made a big statement: no taxes on agricultural products, no taxes.
But he said that last year.
I didn't.
But I'll tell you something. You come into agriculture and land. I solicited the minister himself. I sent him this. Do you know land in Timbuktu, wherever, behind Godak in Trinidad, over $400,000 agricultural land attract the same stamp duty as if you buy land on Frederick? 7%?
It's a value point. It's not. It has nothing to do with the land. It has to do with the monetization.
7% stamp duty.
Yeah.
So if you're buying a piece of land in Tamana
Devoid of
for
infrastructure.
$700,000, you have to pay 7%, $49,000. If you pay the same piece of land in Frederick Street, you pay the 7%. How is that? Why don't you accommodate the agricultural land to be move to be a revolving people
All right,
selling?
before the table catch a fire, I want to ask something, right? Ethics.
Ethics.
What
Ethics.
What ethics you talking?
Ethics.
No, well,
Ethics in everything.
No, but that is a moot.
Your Minister of Finance just fostered social cohesion by using the Parliament, by using the Treasury.
Well, no, that's a
That's not
government.
his
That's
job. Robert, all of that is misuse of office.
all of that I agree with you. But the bottom line is that the people, the layman in the street, don't care about that. Don't tell the layman nothing about ethics. He don't care about that. He just care about food on the table.
I want to ask you why I brought up ethics, right? You all heard about the AV oil lawsuit.
Yes, where
They're
the
suing
man
for
sued
$1
for $1
billion,
billion.
right? So they're suing for $1 billion. I made a premise yesterday because AV oil is now suing the state that the PNM is linked to AV oil and the PNM is the state. What is to stop Keith Rowley telling his Attorney General settle that matter? That is $1 billion plus legal fees that you nor I, anybody on this table, and this is why this country is in the state that it is in today. And I asked about ethics because I see Mr. Mendez, the head of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, marching up and down to throw down a Chief Justice. For whatever reason, that is their business. But where's that same law association on issues like this? When Keith Rowley, who controls Corporation Soul, when I said he's Corporation Soul, somebody said no, he's the Minister of Finance. The Prime Minister is the Minister of everything. The Constitution calls for two people, the Attorney General and the Prime Minister. The last government, the last Prime Minister, she had appointed about 39 ministers. At a time there, we had more ministers than India. And that's the largest democracy in the world. The
No,
Prime,
that is not a true statement.
I swear to you, I can
No,
prove
no.
that. I will prove it to you now.
No, you have to prove that.
We had more ministers, not MPs, we had more ministers appointed than India, the largest democracy in the world. But the point I want to make to you is this situation here now. The Prime Minister directs Corporation Soul. If the Minister of Finance that he has there
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
can't
doesn't
take it. You
act
can't
as
take
he
it.
wants him to act,
Yeah, but the thing is,
he could
you
fire
see-
him in 15 minutes
But
and
Philip,
replace him.
understand that. What is the difference between that and the Prime Minister saying, listen, I set up a cabinet committee to buy boat and just
Bypass
X off the
bypass
PATT.
the board.
so-
They shut down the board.
So there's this
They
question of
collapsed the
ethics. You
board.
know, this ethics, I posted something just yesterday or day before. The remnants of the prerogatives of the monarch in our system of governance. The Prime Minister retains, the question of calling elections, that used to be the province of the king or the queen in England.
Yes.
So that becomes now the prime minister province in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Even the prerogative of pardon is now a committee that reports to the prime minister, and then they recommend to the president to pardon people. So the president doesn't even have that. So what we have is an old
Elected
English
dictator.
Yes, an old English monarchy that was translated through the Crown Colony
Rights of kings.
into independence.
Okay, but I want to answer a question.
So there's no ethics
One law.
involved in that.
All right. Okay, but one law would change all that. One law, one amendment to the Constitution would right-size all of that, and that is recall.
No.
The right to recall
You're not
members
recalling the
of
Prime
Parliament.
Minister,
He's
you're-
a member of
you're
Parliament.
you're
sir.
recalling-
So the Prime Minister first has to be elected to the Parliament to be made Prime Minister. So you could recall the member of Parliament for Diego Martin West.
Yes.
I think-
and
I
as
think-
long as his party retains a majority,
Yeah,
it will be
Cameron.
another
Yeah.
PNM Prime
No,
Minister.
they have 20. He has 21 days. If he gets fired, and this is a way to fire him, and if he gets fired according to the Constitution, he has a time frame, and I think it's 21 days to advise the president
No,
as to a replacement.
No. He can't advise nothing. The point is that if you remove the MP, the system we have here, that's why
remove him.
people, when they
Can't
vote,
remove him, can't
you know what they say? You listen to the news for the last 2 weeks. Ask any ordinary person talking to a reporter. The minister says so, and so he's talking about his MP, because we have an electoral system that when you voting for an MP, you voting for a government.
He voted
And
for
worse
party,
yet, you
a
know
party.
what the campaign has come down to? And that is why the budget speech also full of Rowley is this and Rowley is that, and you have an agricultural advisor. What you have Rambara there for?
I don't know.
So,
I laughed.
so
at that.
in a
I laughed
campaign,
at that
what
one.
does it boil down to?
But he said they're
Who
the,
to vote for better, Kamla or Kit?
all right, but he
Right?
said they are the only government in the history of the country to have an agriculture advisor in the Prime Minister's office, and still, as if that made any sense, still $780 million for agriculture.
Yeah, but
This is
you
a-
have
So you have an advisor and a minister,
Yeah.
and still,
And you produce a budget in 2020 that is $80 million less for agriculture than in 2019, and you say
And
we
not only
expanding
that, like,
agriculture.
this 780, 90% recurrent
Fixed
expenditure,
costs,
this
yeah.
is, they pay salaries.
Peardia Lasney squad.
That's right, that's what it is.
But
They have nothing for her.
here's another thing. This lady is a very good lady, yeah? Mala Dukaran. I
Yeah.
think that's her name, right?
Okay.
She made a very interesting statement. She says, deposit to the HSF should not take place when there is an overall fiscal deficit, unless the cost of the debt we are raising to finance the deficit is lower than the return being earned by the HSF portfolio. Otherwise, we are borrowing to save and incurring a negative carry.
Boring to say.
Yeah.
Now that is
Borrowing at
exactly what has
14%
happened for
to
the
save.
last three budgets. And people in the country say, well, okay. But the truth is, it's not okay. And it's only okay because, again, we don't pay attention to what she's saying. Tighter control should be exercised over the contingent liabilities, as these sometimes end up becoming central government obligations a la Petrotrin. A profitable, credit-worthy state-owned enterprise shouldn't need a government guarantee to raise debt within reasonable levels. We're now going to put the THA to borrow $300 million that has not accounted for the money that it has spent for the last 10 years.
But you just put $700 million debt further on Petrotrin, a new stepchild.
And I'm not disputing that. I'm saying
The
that
next $1 billion
these are some of the priorities that a government who is serious about transforming the country would pay attention. Don't have 100 made-up companies and all of them not efficient. And every year you're just taking money because you have it, because you can borrow it, because you use the government and you can get them a guarantee. And the people with the loans, it worries me, for instance, about Nikon. How did Nikon get a Carrie Chris
I
A
knew that-
rating?
I knew to bring it in, I knew to find a
No,
way
but
to
the
bring
fact
it
is
in.
not that. The fact is that you don't have an operational company. If you know Carrie Chris' system to get recognized for credit rating, he can't meet none of those criterias. You have to have a performing company. How you could get a startup company to get Carrie Chris? Well, then I should have got Carrie Chris
But
already.
again, but it is the same point. The OWTU, and when the Minister of Finance framed it, that if you are against the OWTU, if you are against the Patriot deal, you're against the OWTU, that is playing nasty politics. Because while the OWTU may be able to run a factory or a refinery, that doesn't mean that they could run the business of an oil company.
Which is the truth. I think they are fully aware of that. In my discussion with one of the right-hand...
Ozzy?
Yeah, he had spoken with me. And I had kind of tried to extract from him at the time, well, how are we going to make this thing work? And he told me, well, we have the best brains and the best people on the planet and the best people to run an oil company. But he can't give me no names. Because he says they are bounded by their due diligence and everything. And if they talk out of time, they might lose.
Non-disclosure.
So, non-disclosure. So you have until the end of the month.
So how is so much of our transactions in this country bound in secrecy?
Well, because we just allow it that way. We come back to the point. If the Trinbagonian citizen does not start to accept his rightful responsibility
To this country.
to this country first, not to the politician, because the politicians will get their pensions and they will go home and they won't worry because all of them is 60 plus and they really don't care.
And the pension's bigger.
And the pension's bigger. They can live with that, and they're not passing down no street like you and I that will bounce up a poor man, except if you're going to a mosque on a particular day and had to hand out $5 bills. Outside of that, you're not doing it. They are not giving away none of their money. Keith was very clear, you know. I do like my money to sleep outside. I want my money. And he expects the country that we live in
How-
today for the people to not carry the same kind of philosophical attitude.
Let me ask the panel this then. A young person, you said that the parliamentarians, they all, the sunset of their national service. To young people growing up, coming of age in Trinidad and Tobago, Felicia, maybe you could take some of this. Coming of age in Trinidad and Tobago, what do they think of this country? What is there any drive to get involved in trying to fix Trinidad and Tobago?
As it is right now, and I mean, I can't speak for myself because I am actively involved in fixing things, but for the average young person, I mean, Robert said it, you're only studying yourself because generally, and looking at this budget, there's nothing in here to give you hope that it's going to be better or to give you hope that your opinions and your involvement is going to be solicited. There's nothing in this budget or any past couple of budgets for young people to look forward to. And personally, I mean, if I was not involved in politics, I would not care either. I listened to a radio announcer while I was driving over here saying, are you like me where you pay attention to the budget or you just wait for the synopsis after? And that's the truth. Most
The
people,
hit
they don't care. They just want to know did gas go up, did food go up, did my pay. That's all they care about. And
I
when
have
you
money in
look
my
at-
pocket.
Exactly, but when you look the in-depth things, you said something earlier, Robert, about the labor force of Patricia. And my first question was, the labor is not the same thing as the management of a company. You could have the best labor force, but if you don't have proper management,
Well,
how
I-
is it going to work? And these are questions I ask, but the average person, they don't care. They just know that Patricia is sold.
Well, they have a
Please.
foreign company that's going to provide that.
Yeah, but they see they talk about the incapacity of that foreign company.
Did he-
Incapability.
Did he have a right to defer that 700 million? Yes.
Of course, a
Cabinet.
government can do
Based on
whatever it wants to
Gus,
do.
the way Gus phrased it just now, where did he get that right?
I want to know, somebody offer, it's my money, not your money. You're not selling your property, you know. You sell it on my behalf. I trust you with my property. You want and give it away because somebody paying you money and he said, no, Zara, keep the money. Pay me over 10 years.
But-
3 years don't pay and pay 10 years.
But I have another question.
Explain to me why you do it, at least.
Where-
Justify it to me.
Well, we come back before Felicia speaks on that. He has the right because in the past depot system, the person who is appointed the prime minister has certain rights which he accepts as being the right to do it the way he says.
You're right, but minority shareholders have rights too.
And there is no minority shareholder in this.
You are.
No.
We
You
are.
are.
No.
I am.
That's
time.
intangible. That's intangible.
Not at all.
No.
And it is
That's
time.
an
It
intangible.
is time.
Cabinet
This
is not a majority shareholder, you know.
No, I didn't think
The
it was.
cabinet is the board.
No, I didn't think it was. But I'm just saying, when I
And
speak
when
for
the vote come
myself,
out from the board, that's it.
But
not at all. I
so
am
if they
sa-
abuse my trust, I cannot challenge that.
That is why
That is
it
where the
requires
court-
the population
No,
to come forward.
Robert
not the
Amar,
court.
I tell
Court
you,
under Archie, you got to wait 25 years.
Still, file an injunction, sue the Minister of Finance, sue Corporation Seoul. How did you arrive at a decision? You said.
Or the alternative is what you all spoke about earlier. Hong Kong, this thing.
Wait,
that
before we
thing.
get to that, people don't have Martin shoes in this country, and everybody wants to reach home in time to watch whatever show they're watching. But let's talk about this. You said 77 companies came to buy it. You said due diligence and criteria. And out of due diligence and criteria, you reached a 5. And out of those 5, this one was the
Alright.
best deal.
Yes.
And it was 700 million US in your hand now.
Up front.
Yes. And our
You
next
take it-
one offer you
Wait,
7.9 billion
wait.
over 15 years.
Wait,
I mean,
get
that's
to
a-
that.
that's a local
Stick up in.
company.
You're
It's a
saying
local.
that the reason you made the decision was 700 million US upfront.
Front.
And then
Deferred.
Then you-
without they asking for a deferral
You give it up.
or a moratorium,
You give it up.
you say
I give it up.
take 10 years.
Yeah, but
In a
take
country
3
that
years
you are
with
writing
no
a
payment.
budget for, in a country
make-
that
Take 3 years with no
Unless
payment.
they have
and
explanation,
take 10 years
that
after
is,
that to pay.
that
That
is
is
symbolic
crime.
of
That is a crime.
corruption.
that is a crime.
That is symbolic
That is a
of
crime.
It is a
corruption.
breach of fiduciary
But-
duty.
but-
That's
what
a
I'm
crime.
saying.
Yes.
Now the point is,
Yes.
it is a breach
He's a lawyer,
of
you know.
governance in the country.
Ms. Holder would like
The
to answer.
question is, what do the citizens do about it?
Too
What
much,
can we
too
do
much
about it?
testosterone in the conversation.
It wasn't to
Let's-
ask, it was to make a statement,
let's-
and this
let's-
is the only country that I see this kind of madness happening. So it with TSTT and what was this other one? Massive.
Yeah, but
Well,
Emily
see,
That
Elias,
you could literally
255
create
million.
companies. To
Emily Elias said he answers to nobody.
Right. Yeah.
Not to the not to nobody. He said cabinet can call him to order.
Didn't Kola Hart also say that?
yeah, but I'm going to share a fact again. The data shows that successive governments have not exercised constraint in fiscal spending on their own. You listen to this budget, it's the same thing. There is no exercise of fiscal management. Our debt has grown by 74% since March 2011, reaching 124.4 billion in March 2019.
Billion US.
TT.
TT.
When
That
we
That
amount-
124 billion to who?
Several people. That amounts to
Those are
roughly
foreign bankers.
It's going up by 5 billion
96
this year.
Half of that is China.
96,000 TT dollars in public sector debt per capita. Over the last 10 years, the central government has spent over 520 billion and earned only 471.
How much is in the HSF?
He said 13 point something billion is what he
Nothing is.
calculated.
No, 6 point something.
6
billion.
point
So
something.
they
yeah, you're
separate
right.
the two. They have a heritage fund and a stabilization fund, right?
No,
But
no,
the
no,
same
no,
fund.
no, it's
Everything in
Same
one.
fund,
One
same
and
6
same.
billion.
One and
So
same,
it's
yes,
not
sir.
13 billion, it's 6 billion TT.
No, that's
US.
US.
This is US.
Between
right?
the two, between that and foreign reserves, 13 point something billion. So together,
Foreign reserves is
7 point
I
something.
think it's
billion.
7 point something.
Yeah,
I didn't hear him say
so
anything
you have
about the foreign
$124
reserves.
billion debt. You have a 22 billion US GDP, and you have $6 billion in your HSF.
We basically have the budget allocation for the Ministry of Health.
And they
Our
will beat their
health
chest, they
system
leave in
is-
that for the generations to come. But they leave in the generations with a debt of 120
And,
and
and,
120
that's the
billion.
problem.
and that's the problem. They're disingenuous because you're saying, look, we have this in the savings account, but they're saying that the bailiff coming knocking on the door for this. And this $124 billion, does that include things like the Cuba Hospital and Napa and
It will be.
Sapa?
It will have it in there. It will have it. I think.
Except
Debts to China.
except
Yes,
debts that
yes.
are not guaranteed by the government. Like special purpose companies, sometimes they have debts. That's not included in that.
Was there anything mentioned in this budget on reducing that debt?
No,
How did it
because with an increase in deficit,
With-
they
with
borrow
four-
their way.
And
4
other
billion budgeted
diversifying
in
to
20
Is it a deficit
2019.
budget?
Of course.
It's another
Increasing
one,
your
yeah.
deficit from 4 billion in 2019 to 5.2 billion in 2020 it means you're going to borrow more money
Right,
in
and you beat your
2020 than
chest.
you borrowed last
And
year.
you beat your chest and you say, you're giving THA the ability to go and borrow money too.
And they're going to
Yeah.
borrow
when,
too.
when was the last time
And
THA?
not only
12
that,
years ago.
he giving them $900 and something million, more than the 4.3% that they're giving them through the national budget
None.
for infrastructure.
I hear so
I
much
wanna make
about
a prediction
Tobago
here.
in this budget that
Yes.
I know Watson Duke have them panicking.
But I want to predict something. He pegged the oil at $60 per barrel. Right now it's
Yeah.
50 something.
That's a bad price.
And the gas at what you call it?
$3.
At $3.
$3.
Right now it's 2 something. So he's going to have a deficit. The deficit is going to be further than
Yeah,
the
because this is-
because he
Because it's not
estimated
based on
47
actual figure.
47 billion. But I could bet you, and I'm predicting that the expenditure will be 53 billion. Will not come down because it's an election year. So the deficit this year is going to be more than the 5 billion here.
Okay, so let me ask
I
you-
am making that
Let me
prediction.
ask a
I
question.
think you're right.
So to the public who is jaded, you say they're jaded, they don't march, da, 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 da.
And I say they're numb.
Right. But I want to put to you that they're numb because they do not have enough people championing at a level. You see how we're talking about this issue here? It shouldn't die here. If it is at the very least a breach in fiduciary responsibility, take action.
Yeah, but take action who?
But there are ways to take action. Do you know that you could bring a private prosecution by law in Trinidad and Tobago?
The bottom line is
A criminal
all the-
prosecution
Okay.
privately.
So you-
and I'm saying that there are laws.
You put yourself in the position to say you're going to do that, Philip. I mean, we living in a country where you have to be
But
so
doesn't
you have
it
to be
re-
so careful.
But does it? Okay, we're talking about now.
you
Personal safety.
You start taking
All right,
action.
okay, I hear you, but I'm saying.
forget that. It ain't worth it.
Okay, so I'm saying to you
The
then.
people outside there willing to come forward. You want to go and
No,
put yourself on the line?
but
For what?
But I'm saying to you that if
to prove what? To prove that Philip could do it?
not just
Everybody know Philip could
not
do it.
just to prove that, to say that you have people willing to stand up for you.
It
Robert,
ain't got nobody willing
you
to
see,
stand
when
up for
you
you.
say some of those things sarcastically, people don't know the decades you fight in this thing. Or Clyde. And I want to say to you all, and Gus, I want to say to you all that don't underestimate the power of the right time. All through history.
Yeah, well, when that time show up, you will know.
So stay home and watch TV till then.
Yeah, boy, that better.
I
No,
agree.
I-
that time didn't come as yet.
It's not reached
here.
yet.
It's not here.
It's not
That
here yet.
time is
And
not here.
Philip,
So until
you-
then,
the
what?
point
We
you
just
just
talk?
made,
What,
that
that's
is
what
try
we
our
gotta do.
best in our own way.
I wanna
but
hear
No,
what
I
Clyde has.
disagree.
the point you just made is the source of why the PNM has spent so much money in Tobago over the last 4 years.
2 seats to protect.
Because the people of Tobago, we in Trinidad know what's Duke as the president of the PSC. So a lot of people in Trinidad will laugh and kick about what's Duke. But you know what the people in Tobago say? That is the only man talking for we.
Yeah, and
Right?
I want to tell Clyde something, He's still in the minority, Because what the government has just done, 2 boat for them, set up to give them the
Two
airport.
more boat for that.
Well, 1 going back. 2 brand new boats, which going to be sexy and nice, better than the Valetti. They're going to organize and give them the rights to internal self what? No matter what.
How long we talking?
Forget about how long, that's not the issue.
We talking
The issue
internal
is-
self-governance
And
since
Hello.
the PNM talk against it when Robinson
When
brought it
Robinson
up.
brought it up.
Hold
So
on.
the point is,
You know what this
there's
is?
a bill before the cabinet,
It's a
before the
Carlton
parliament.
syndrome.
And
Keep
in this
dangling
budget
that
speech,
Yes, they're getting them
Tobago
ready.
in
people-
this budget speech,
Tobago people not so stupid.
You said they don't believe so.
I watch
They are
Tobago
the
people
smartest,
vote.
they are the smartest
I
and
watch-
stupidest people they have in the earth's surface.
You know, that remind me of something.
No
saw
disrespect to them for
I
that.
saw the
No,
minister.
it's Trinidad and Tobago.
I saw the minister talking of VAT, how it's a good form of taxation. But I remember in the 80s when the NER introduced it,
but I
they
listen-
wanted to kill Selby Wilson and
I
them. But
listened to
they wanted
this
to kill
man, I
him for the
say-
same VAT that he introduced.
He
No,
has
but
a
now
we-
they're
place
saying
in
it's a
our-
good form.
but we have an evolution of a society and an evolution of time. What at that time might have been, a precarious kind of position that people was feeling in a particular way. I think they have grown to a point where they have accepted that as the norm. So we can't worry about what was then. We have to ask ourselves, is VAT too high now? Is VAT too high? Should they have a reduction?
No, but wasn't it that VAT was introduced at a time when it was to right size the economy, and when we get there, it was to lower income tax, and that it was transferred?
Yeah, but the lower
taxation-
the income tax
Didn't
happen,
happen,
people no $72,000 people don't pay no tax. How come me know? There have been changes. Corporation tax took a dive. There are things that have happened.
Corporation tax went up
Well, no, it went to 25%.
to 30%.
Well, maybe it went,
I paid this
Went
year
up last
30%,
year.
and
Last
I
year.
felt it.
Last year budget they raised it.
okay.
There is
but
it.
the thing is that we have to understand.
Robert,
Phillip,
it's like a shell game.
that is not the
They're playing
point.
a shell game.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
but
guys.
you can't stop that. Remember this game going on for at least 40 years, you know. You can't change that 40-year game, you know. And again, we're coming back to the point. Trinidad
57
understands very
years
well
ago.
that the PNM could lose in Trinidad. Because remember, it was 16-18-2. PNM get 16, UNC get 18, and Tobago get 2, which made it 18-18. Don't forget that, you know. They got the 2 Tobago seats at the time to help the PNM through, you know. Otherwise, the PNM would have gone already.
And before we had 17 too.
Correct. Again, I see next year.
I was with the NER, the Management Council.
So you have to
17,
appreciate that where we are right now.
And now that's why.
Is they going to protect Tobago?
That's
That's
why
like
Watson
you're
jukes.
playing.
Yeah,
That's like
totally.
you're playing chess, and if the person call and say check, and you say what the hell I have to do, boy? So out come the goodies for Tobago because they don't want to get checkmate.
Yes. So
Put the airport. Organize all the things we have to do, and tell them nicely.
And
Hey,
all-
the paper done here already.
No, but-
Don't worry,
no, but- no,
we
but-
gonna make it
and
happen.
all of that has nothing to do with the people of Tobago.
Nothing at all.
It has to do with the PNM holding on to 2 seats.
Correct. That's
And,
what it
and
has
trying
to
to
do.
prevent you
So
from
then,
taking
all
it.
right, okay.
Right?
So if you say that, Clyde, then I have to ask the question.
Mhm.
What is keeping Lavantel East and Lavantel West from marginalizing themselves? What is keeping Lavantel East and Lavantel West from finding a duke of their own?
You were listening to the
No,
budget?
I'm just saying.
You were
I
listening to
am
the budget?
saying to you,
You were listening
that
to the
Lavantel
budget?
East and Lavantel West not getting what Tobago East and West getting.
Why you not
Because-
listening?
because-
I just point
because-
this out there because other people are going to
Because most of the people who have come up saying they're championing Lavantel East and West have been saying, here people of Lavantel East and West, what we need is more handout.
Correct. And not
You
only
can
that.
saying we need to have, we are to stand up for ourselves.
Yes, and here's the difference, Philip.
And
The
there's a
man-
difference
the man-
in culture. This is 2 nations here.
Yeah,
you know.
the man
These 2
butter-
rocks is 2 nations, you know.
The man
Tobago have
butter-
a whole different history.
He
Have
butter
its
the-
own language and everything, you know. If
He-
a Tobagonian really want to speak the dialect, you think you could understand them?
He butter his lesser fortunate areas, you know. He say, and we have built swimming pools and we'll continue to build. And we're gonna put another one here and another one there.
Robert Cocoa, the man said with one breath that our cocoa continues to win the highest prizes in the world.
Because we have the highest quality flavoring cocoa in the
Good.
world.
And,
And you know what they did this week?
and-
You know what they announced yesterday? The Minister of Agriculture announced
Tell me.
that a foreign company owned by Kraft and Cadbury is coming here and they have an agreement for them to work with the University of the West
So
Indies
they're gonna sell
to
the
bring in GMO cocoa trees here, right? So when they come in here and they're doing the GMO work, they only patents to the GMO.
what
So when
happened
they,
to
start,
Trinitario
when they
cocoa?
start to
What
interfere
happened
with
to
Trinitario
Trinitario
cocoa,
cocoa?
that's the question I asked on Facebook. And the fools in this country saying, oh, don't worry about that. How you mean don't worry about
because
that?
we've been taught that what
And
is foreign
somebody,
is better.
there was an award of a cocoa exposition yesterday.
And we won.
And one of the persons, no, a local thing. And one of the people who participated in this thing, you know what she said on the radio yesterday? I wanted dead. That this cocoa and making chocolate in Trinidad is diversifying the economy. Wasn't Trinidad selling cocoa at premium prices all over the world since slavery days? So where's the
If
diversification?
they only know that when they drive around the savannah, the Stallmeyer Castle and the middle floor that he talk about is Cocoa Bellad.
Yes.
It's Cocoa Bellad. But what I was raising, the point that I was raising, is that he talk about how we have the best cocoa in the world and winning prizes all around the world. And the only thing that they did for cocoa, again in this budget, is to set up a way to give prizes in Trinidad.
Yeah.
We will give you a prize.
Because
and let me send
yesterday
it.
they went
But
and
they-
gave away the cocoa
But Clyde, again,
to
they
Cadbury and
but they are not supposed to have the right to do that. I understand that they are in government. I understand that. But they have certain
They
things that
should not do it, but they have the right because our system of
where in our
governance
system does it say that the government
could do what they
has Yeah, and I guess as that the
Because
government's decision trumps the rights of
You,
the shareholders.
you go in the parliament and say, I am moving and vote and no confidence in the
Yeah,
government.
forget that.
They have the majority in the parliament.
Again, I started
So
telling
this
you
is
the
all-
past
Okay,
the
but, all right,
post system gives them the control.
So the only time that we're gonna change that is a majority on the ground.
Yes.
Correct.
That's it.
Yes.
That's to me a new
that is where we
political
are
party
missing.
is very hard to get in
Yeah.
between those two. They have it locked down. A movement to change the constitution, to change the system. That's what we need. A movement towards that to put them under pressure. Beat the street, go on the street, demonstrate. That's what we need in this country. We have to change the system and we have to force them. Otherwise, we doomed.
But it's exactly what the
point
point was
is-
saying.
And if
There are
if
only
you
two
don't
choices,
change
you know.
that,
Yeah.
that every year you will have a minister of finance coming who already done decide the budget since 2 weeks ago because all them estimates done 2 weeks
but-
ago
but-
and
but-
come and
but the
pretend
classic-
So
he
that
giving
was
a speech that nobody know about.
So that was the point then. It's all a stunt, it's all a circus, it's all theatre.
Yes,
No,
because
it's
that is
routine.
the nature
No, but
of the
besides
of
it being
the
routine, but it's a theatre, it just serves
No.
no purpose.
It's routine.
We can't challenge it. What's the point of giving me this information?
the right to challenge it is a right we have to claim.
Yeah, but we don't.
It
claim
is not given to us. We have to claim it.
57 years of no water, and you talking to
57
me.
years.
You talking to me today that you're gonna spend more money fixing leaks?
57 years of a system that says the man up there
Is
is
the
the
boss.
king. And
Yeah, he's the
the
boss.
king could do as he please.
Education got $7.5 billion, up from $4.5
We
billion.
come back to the point that
Education
Yusuf was
just got
asking.
$7.5 billion.
Yeah.
What is that for?
156 million more than last year.
Hold
No,
on.
what was last year?
Yeah.
7.392.
But what we getting in return?
Philip, here's the thing. When these documents are presented,
National security went up from last year to this year. You know how much? 32 million.
when you sit down and you look at these documents, there are two specific things that need to be addressed. The global number is no longer important. It is the breakdown of the global number that needs to be advocated. 7 point something, he said it. What is the fixed value? What is the amount of fixed cost of that 7 billion that is going to pay what you cannot get away from? And then the other number is the number you start to think about.
Development number.
Because in the end, if 6 billion out of that 7 billion
Is
to
recurring
pay,
expenditure.
then we just pay.
Okay, but we pretend that recurring expenditure is carved in stone, and it's not. Economies have evaporated. Whole industries in our lifetime came and left. Trinidad and Tobago cannot continue to live in the dark ages where governments could talk nonsense. I mean, are you saying that the mass of our population is so functionally illiterate that they can't tell that he is talking nonsense?
That is correct. You better believe that. And you
Take
see,
education. Take education as an example. 7.5 billion. We have a problem now. I see university graduates can't get no work. They're complaining. They get with GATE, they went and get educated, they can't get no work. We have our young people who didn't get educated. You have no young plumber. You don't see a young plumber. You don't see a young carpenter. You don't see a young mason.
no tradesman again.
No tradesmen. Only so the lower one not working. They go and joining gangs.
And the upper one,
URP and CPEP, and the higher one not getting no work.
and
Yeah,
here's what it breaks down to. A thorough assessment of the social welfare system is desperately needed, as there is rampant waste and duplication. While some collect underserved benefits, many deserving citizens, such as the mentally ill, elderly, and disabled, go without.
Okay, but Robert,
It's
how
a
many
resource.
versions of that report?
But
we've
that's not
had?
the point. The
How many
point
versions
is,
over the decades of that same Mala Dukaran now? It was Winston Dukaran before, it was Selby Wilson and Wendell Motley.
Okay.
Everybody, all I'm saying to you is the information is available. You could get that information, that version of that, in many different ways. We've been talking this talk for a long
the
time.
point is not that. The point is that you still have to find an enabling leader who is willing to take the Mao road. And none of the leaders we have had up to today is willing to take the Mao road, including Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who had it in her hands
She had a special
to
majority.
add
Yeah, she could have fixed
the
it.
situation of two-term prime minister.
She
To
could have-
add the situation of recall.
No, because you
To
see,
add
and
the
that is what,
situation of
because
referendum.
it was not her plan. She sent Prakash Ramadan on a fool's errand across the country. Remember with this constitution
Of
reform?
course, I contribute. I made a whole presentation, waste my time.
No, but Philip, when the thing came down to a bill, they had a simple majority bill with right of recall, fixed date for election, and term limits for the prime
And
minister.
they added,
And
they
because
added,
they afraid Jack,
they added
they went and put him runoff.
runoff.
Right?
And we all fight the bill because they added runoff. It
And
was
then-
like when they was trying to get
And
the,
then people who advocate for those three things since 2006, both saying I vote against the bill.
because we abandoned it because we didn't want runoff.
Brexit.
Were you afraid about runoff? 105 countries in the world are runoff.
Yeah.
But in Trinidad and Tobago, like I said to the commissioner of police, in Trinidad
A
and
Sikh
Tobago,
is a
Let me
parliamentarian in
Yeah.
Canada
you can't,
because
don't
of
get them,
runoff.
don't get them runoff until we have proportional representation.
You know what was the runoff about? The runoff was about to kill what Prakash Ramadan did. To kill the whole constitutional reform that they were talking about.
No,
so
the thing was
they said we
afraid
do
Jack, boy.
They afraid any third party. They wanted to
They
consolidate.
wanted a way to afraid. They're so
You see-
afraid
you
Jack.
see- you
They
see how
wanted
you
a
all
way to
frame-
make sure he win. That's
You see
all.
how you all frame PNM,
Making them
UNC?
sound
You see how
right.
you all frame PNM and UNC, and that is forever.
The PNM
They
UNC
wanted,
monopoly.
they wanted to consolidate that monopoly. That's
Yes.
what that runoff was.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
But-
right.
And the UNC was afraid that Jack Warner and his ILP was coming to replace them as that de facto
So
party.
fine. And the PNM is afraid that wasn't you going to replace them in Tobago.
Tobago. So putting
that's
now-
why they're spending all
putting
this
the
money
issue
Tobago
that
for.
say internal self-government.
Will that make a difference in Tobago?
Of course it
It will
will.
make a difference in the national politics because here, if they 1920, he calling the shots.
The internal
Correct.
self-government bill is before the parliament. I wrote to the JSC a whole position on what is the rationale for this bill. I never get a acknowledgement. I never got invitation to appear before the JSC, but the Minister of Finance is announcing today that the bill will come before the parliament soon.
Yeah.
That
You see-
bill is to strengthen the PNM through the THA in Tobago. That's what it is. Because you have a bill talking about what? The exclusive economic zone of Tobago. What the hell is that?
Let me say
The
one
law,
thing.
and just this week they're talking boasting about the law of the sea.
Here
And
is
they
one-
respect the law of the
here
sea.
is one thing that we have to really simplify and ask. What are the four things the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago wants to see happen for his people?
PNM.
You understand? What are the four things? Now let me
Yeah.
get
That was funny.
serious.
That was funny.
It has to come because unless he cannot tell us what he wants, the four priorities for his people,
You think that this government has a vision?
whether they have a vision or not, the
But that's what
question,
you're asking.
yeah, but it is a question that has to be asked on a continuous basis. It's not Robert alone to ask the question. It is for the people of Trinidad and Tobago when they bounce up the Prime Minister. Tell us what your priority is for us.
We-
Tell us.
we
Should they
have-
reflect? Should
We
they
have
reflect-
achieved our manifesto promises.
And more the reason why you have to
That's
ask the
important.
But
question.
shouldn't that reflect the people's vision for themselves?
Well, how is that going to be enunciated in public? It has to be by asking the leader. Do you know what is the Prime Minister's dreams of Trinidad and Tobago? I know what your dreams are. You have made it very clear. You have opened. You know what my dreams are.
The last
I
time
can't say.
was
I can't
here,
say about Clyde. I don't know.
No, but Clyde is very much an advocate for human rights and civil liberties and a deeper democracy, and those are important things.
But that has now to have an enabling body behind it. Unless we don't know what the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, or the opposition leader of Trinidad, don't come and tell me about blue economy and,
And
green
that's
economy
it.
and silver economy.
that's it.
All of those things
And
are
what
all
you're
very
saying
nice
is
and
Rain-
good.
Rainbow
The-
economy.
You understand?
So,
You-
Philip, the
you're
last
on a
time I
roll
was
today.
here,
Like you're on a roll
the last
today.
time I was here, I quoted from a document called Project Independence, written in
Yeah, you were
1962
supposed to give me a copy of
by
that.
Pegasus, which was formed by Geddes Granger, right? In 1962, you see what the question you're asking? The battle was, can the people of Trinidad and Tobago define where we want to go? And that's what Pegasus was about. Or should the PNM define everything? And that's what Williams was about. So that document said, we have to define the national purpose, and all sectional interests should be subjected to the national purpose. They said that in 1962.
Did this-
What this budget speech is saying
Did
to us
this
in 2019, the national interest must be subject to the interests of the PNM.
Subjugated.
Yes.
Listen. Did this budget, and I guess I have to ask everybody, Did this budget accomplish anything good for Trinidad, or was it all about PNM?
All it was about PNM. It was a very traditional election year budget. That's what it was. Very traditional election year budget.
Nothing in it was of any
Nothing
value.
nothing to look to forward.
The middle class,
for
the business community, nobody's benefited from this
Nothing.
unless you're in the light bulb business.
Well,
Clyde,
Here's what the Minister of Finance said to answer your question. Total revenue has been budgeted at X, 1.1 billion more than 2019. Total revenue, the expenditure is budgeted at Y, which is 2.5 billion more than 2019. And that will give us a deficit of 5.287 billion, which will be 2.4% of GDP, compared 3.1% of GDP in 2020 compared to 2.4% deficit in 2019. Isn't that saying that this budget is simply saying that we're making the country worse off financially? That's what it is saying. That's what he present to us. And that has nothing to do with the welfare of Trinidad and Tobago.
but he started off with so much doom and gloom about the world and Brexit and instability
Yes,
and the price of energy.
And 4
collected.
sentences later, he said, we are taking advantage of the world's economic
Correct.
situation.
Correct. I believe that I share a little different view than the other two guests. I think the budget had one positive thing in it, and that was the intent of realizing home ownership for the poorer people. I think if it is anything that comes out of this, and if they really find a way to do it, which I can't see how they'll do it, it's a nice set of words that you could bring a house down to 350,000, or you could get a starter house, as they are saying, because the poorer people in the society
No,
want
but
a place to live.
ignoring it because it's a stolen idea, and it is one of the things that we have been championing from the start. It was nowhere in their manifesto, it nowhere in Vision 2020 or Vision 2030, so they are a bunch of old thief. All right, and every promise they've ever made, because I remember when we solved the highway in Diego Martin, when we got the bypass, call him but say, we know how to do that 10 years now. And I asked him, why did they do it?
Yeah. Well, we back to the position
A
of...
promise is a comforter fool.
No, but the reality is that that's the only thing the society of poorer people can think about. Is there something that I could dream about that could happen for me? And he has painted a picture with numbers that will let the imagination of the poor man accept that, hey, this thing can happen. And at the end of the day, if that is the issue of a poor man and a fool and all that kind of things, well then, okay, he has achieved his objective by buying time for those people who have to re-elect the government to still give them a chance.
Yeah, but
Because we
what-
have operated under
what-
that paradigm.
What you just said about this thing about housing there, what's the difference between that and 16.7% increase in minimum wage?
No, no.
10% increase in stipend for
No,
OJT?
he is saying that he thinks that is actually a positive thing.
No, but it is the same illusion
Net-
that is being
net
sold.
effect.
Yeah,
on
but,
the-
but
Net
the
effect,
reality
net effect.
is that was
no,
here I am giving you the idea that
Bait
I'm
and
giving
switch.
you something,
Bait and switch.
Will these
and
people
what you have to do
qualify? Will
is
these
put
people
me back in
qualify?
well,
government.
he indicated that they can't. So all of
Yeah.
those are the things that he does
If
not
these
put
people-
all the bolts and nuts together.
Minimum wage still wouldn't meet the threshold for that.
Neither CPEP and URP.
None of
so
them-
how these houses
so
is for the
who-
lower income people?
But he added,
Those
he added
houses are
Yusuf.
for contractors.
He added
to build
Yusuf.
5 and
He
10
added
houses.
one
Five
additional.
houses.
He added one additional caveat
Ah.
that we have built a house for $125,000, which is affordable. It's a starter house, no frills, no bells, no
But you
whistles.
see him saying that, Robert,
He
and I
did
want to
that?
show you. No,
That is what he said.
No. And I
Yeah.
want to show you why he's disingenuous and a bit of a liar. Because he said that they would reduce the cost per square foot from 1,200 to 600.
Yes.
When he was building at 1,200, the private sector was building at 400 and 500 a square foot, and you know that. We're talking about 10 years ago. We were paying through HTC $1,200 a square foot for those things.
Philip,
That is
the issue.
pure robbery.
Yeah, we agree. What you gonna do about it? Who you going to sue?
We're gonna call
Who you going to sue? Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters. Felicia, add something on that.
Nothing to contribute. Ghostbusters talk, but a budget is supposed to be based on a vision, in my opinion, and there's clearly no vision other than to
That
be
is in a rare
re-elected
place.
into government. And you said it, Gassan. This seems like a budget, the same budget that we get every year before an election. Something to, like we said,
Yes.
sweeten the people,
Yes.
make them happy. Tonight they can go and drink because nothing went up. They getting $400 more extra minimum wage
Plenty
earners.
money.
And as a whole, if you look at the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, how are we going to be better off
Okay.
in the
I have a
2019-2020
collection of budget
fiscal?
speeches from
Yeah.
1962 coming up the road,
Mhm.
right? When Williams used to deliver them. There's nothing new or different in what this budget speech does. This thing about vision and you're presenting this is a 1-year expenditure plan. That's what a budget is, right? So where's the vision? 2030? You know what in it?
Nobody
But that's the
knows.
point that I'm making.
So the
though.
point is that this is not about that, and we have to
No, but
accept
I
the fact.
want to jump in her defense here.
You see, he's talking about what it should be.
Right, and-
So
I'm
you
talking
need to
about what it
qualify
is.
that. You need to qualify
I'm
that.
talking
that
about
if this
what
was,
it is.
If this, you said earlier, if this was a real place.
No,
If this was a real country.
right, it would be that.
If this was a
But
country.
this is Disney World.
Continue, ma'am.
I think as an average citizen, this budget, like we discussed, was very underwhelming. I am not a minimum wage earner, so I guess I wouldn't be celebrating. But whether I was or was not, on a whole, for the country, I don't see much positives coming out of this. And
What is an average citizen?
I want to ask you a question. The 194,000 minimum wage earners he talked about, isn't that a scathing indictment against this country? Or that 175,000 people, names are on a list for a HDC house? That means if 4 people supposed to be in a house, every family in Trinidad on the list. Where are we going? Is this pure socialism using a capitalism model and fooling people? Are we just going to use the budget and the treasury to steal and to buy votes?
This is not about socialism.
You
see, always use these words. I don't use them carelessly.
you say it's not, but everything she's asking.
Because Chambers use the word carelessly too.
Clyde,
This
my
is about maintaining a system of governance
We
that
have
is
a-
based on
Clyde,
a
We have a
Declining
handout
of-
model.
the declining middle class right now, what is there in this budget to look forward to?
You could put
If you want entrepreneur
You could put
today,
a water
if
heater
you
with
want
a solar-
I
entrepreneur,
can
and,
put
you-
the solar power.
and your granny left you 10 acres of land, and you was growing pimento peppers, and you have a recipe to make the pimentos into a nice thing in a bottle and package and ship to America. If you're an entrepreneur in Trinidad and Tobago, how do you start doing anything with that?
You can't start doing anything with that because, again, where's the enablers? We have to first sit down and understand what are the things, and this is where the predictiveness of leadership comes. If you talk about this thing about scorpion, pepper sauce, whatever, pepper spray, what it is, phenomenal idea. How do we convert that now into something? We have nobody to go to. And when you go to the financiers, the kind of money you have to put out for that kind of financing makes it not affordable. If the state was serious about really transforming, then it would put an enabler to help transform in accordance with the prosperity model
so
that the country would have.
and
But
last-
we don't have that.
Because he talked
And
about
last year-
things that he didn't. He talked about things and he made it sound like he was addressing issues, but he didn't.
No, but-
He spoke about the insurance industry, but he didn't address the shortcomings in the general insurance industry, which is the biggest problems in Trinidad and Tobago. He spoke about banking sector, but he didn't talk about the fact that banks are not paying interest to depositors, or that you can't get money to borrow from traditional banks because they've removed that cost of doing business. He didn't say that the whole banking sector in Trinidad and Tobago is dank and fetid, that what he needed to do was open it up to competition so that the banking sector would again treat the customers with respect and give them interest and incentives to bank with them. We didn't touch on any of those things. We did what the United States of America did pre-2008, where we are changing the rules for the credit unions. Why are we doing that? Credit unions serve a purpose in society. You need banks in society. Your existing 5 banks not doing the job, open the market. Bring 10 more.
Or write regulations to make them do it.
Oh, I'm saying to you, yes, but the fees that the banks are charging people now are
Onerous.
because Banks are no longer in banking, they're in money warehousing. And you need to bring in 10 international banks to get RBC and Republic and Scotia back on their feet. They're making $1 billion a quarter.
So Philip, the point I made on the night of election 2015, the Prakash Ramadan Day, the PNM is re-elected to complete the job of Patrick Manning. What was the first thing this government did when they came into office? They fired Jawaharlal Rambaran and they restored the monopoly on Forex to the bank.
First thing they did was to give somebody a contract to watch the Aruba Stadium.
What is the latest thing they did in respect of the financial sector? They approved the monopoly of Sagicor over insurance, life insurance policies by giving the Clico portfolio to them. So they're monopolizing. That is what is here.
When he said that he rushed to the High Court to stop the shareholders from making a move to buy back their company and pay back the debt, so they rushed to liquidate Clico and CL Financial, I was wondering to myself, who did he act for? Who gave him that as a mandate? Why did it matter to us if he liquidated CL Financial and stripped the company, or if Dupree and them had come back because there was a rumor that Dupree had his angels and he was getting his billions and he was coming to buy it back? Why do we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, why did we end up in that fight? It was a bailout. Obviously, we didn't get no interest on our $25 billion.
Not at all.
Because it would have earned us, in the 10 years, at least $20 billion. We didn't get that money. So why are we interested in mashing up Clico business that rewards Sagicor? How does that benefit Trinidad and Tobago when we had to write off $300 million to sell them the portfolio anyway? How does that benefit us? Who is he acting for?
That's what I just told you. He's acting for the Sagicors and the banking monopoly on Forex. That's who he's acting for. The 1% that you keep talking about. That is who he's acting for.
So I know that we have to wrap up, but I want to tell you something. That 13% interest tax that is put on the economy in that spread from 601 to 677 in the banking system, worse if you buy it outside. So if you get a US check today and you want it as US money in your hand, according to the banks, you have to sell them that check at 601 and buy back the money at 677.
Yeah.
How is that legal? How is that right? In Trinidad and Tobago, he is the Minister of Finance. He should have addressed that. He should have addressed the lack of real competition in the banking sector.
If he was the Minister of Finance for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, he would address those things.
But
he's the Minister of Finance for the bank.
I hear you.
And the 1%.
I hear you. But,
so he
but what I'm saying is for the
He's
people.
Minister of Finance for PNM. And if they working for the whatever, I don't like this 1% term.
Oligarchy.
Yeah, because they are the financiers. That's what it is. We need campaign finance reform to get away from that. You need things to put in place, which they're trying to do because
it took 27 years to complete the Fisheries Act.
Yes. So that's why.
27 years?
Yes.
That's longer than the man who was waiting for his case for breaking into Stevens and Johnson's. At least he was 25 years. Clyde, what I was trying to say, and Gus, all I'm saying to the people looking on, that a real country, the Minister of Finance today, what Felicia asked for, the things that Robert say, he says it sarcastically, and I know Robert is a man that dreams big dreams. He take his family and he went away 20 years ago to Disney World. He come back here, everything that he see, he bring it to Trinidad and Tobago. Remember? When he's doing all them hedges and all that kind of bacchanal. He's the man who brought, I hear this man talking today about the entertainment industry, and they sit and they watch his efforts into that, and I remember there were people coming from all over the world to it, but there was no incentives and no support at the time. Tell me.
No, well, I mean, the reality is people didn't come here for incentives. People came here because it was a facility that stood up to the international standards. I mean,
no, but 50 clubs now filming MTV ads. That's what they're talking about. When there was an actual recording industry in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, they never paid attention. I mean, because again, we have a non-enabler. If you're not cultured, if you don't really have a sensitivity for what your people's positions, capacities, creativities are, if the only thing you could think about is, well, they're like a lawn and you have to manicure them, if that's the kind of stupid statements you make, how do you really take into consideration the capacity of that person's creative self. And you know, we treat the creative side as though it is invaluable, when it carries no value, no value. But in truth and in fact, that is what has helped most of the world's people to get where they are. The aspect of respecting your culture and the things that your people can create
Culture
and
unites
do.
the people.
That's correct. And you just have to look at, you know, private islands all over the world. You keep talking about it. We have endless great things in this country, you know.
Absolutely.
But we have nobody that is focusing their attention on those
I
things.
said the other day, a man told me, he said he was going to talk about NASA. But 6 billion TT dollars is what it took to send the Voyager spacecraft 422 million miles to Mars. And this is the kind of money that we burn through.
Well,
1 billion US dollars. Double the size of the Panama Canal.
Trinidad and Tobago should have had its own satellite
Robert,
up in space,
as
dealing
the-
with
as
transferring
the
of
only-
information from Trinidad and Tobago, or getting information from the African continent here. I have a guy that talk about that for 10 years.
Yeah.
But the Trinidad and Tobago government wouldn't even sit down with the Chinese and make an
No, but
arrangement for
Robert-
that. Here what we talking about, asphalt.
Robert, two of
We are technologically driven people with a creative set of minds.
We have
and
no
with all
downstream.
kinda-
We have no downstream. Two of
But
our
we
members.
studying to take asphalt, which
Two of
really
our-
and truly if you multiply by the maximum amount of dollars you could get for a drum, you still can't pay the damn bills. I mean, I'm not telling you it's not good money. I'm not telling you the downstreaming of it is not important. I'm not telling you we can't create things with that. But let's play for the things that we could definitely get money from. And this country continues to fool around. I mean,
Again, and I was going to tell you just
we are jokers. I mean,
two of
I
our
keep
members
saying
in the
that.
Progressive Empowerment Party are senior executives in the shipping industry, cruise industry.
Well, that's a big industry.
And if you see, and last night I was watching this whole documentary about how the cruise industry negotiates with countries. Cruise ships don't come to your country just because you have a dock. There has to be a reason to compel the people to come off the ship and walk around till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And there have to be something for them to see. Sunday I went down Port of Spain and filmed a video. From the Hyatt to the cathedral, dead. But we have $100 million Brian Lara promenade. That in the evening when downtown closed, nightlife could start.
Of course
It could hold 500 food trucks. You could have dancing and music and stages and people playing games and families coming out. And I'm just saying this, that for a country with a vision for the people, you talk about culture. Bring your culture to express itself 12 months out of the year.
Should be able to
The
do.
real carnival countries, we are not a carnival country. Carnival and joke. When you watch the country, the communities that make up Rio Carnival in Brazil, they do what we consider our national carnival once a month. That's their thing. Once a month, the dancing schools and the art schools and all of them get together.
Philip, you talking about the promenade and bringing people and all kind of thing. We build our Twin Towers downtown. You have a dock right there. But if a ship come and land people there, we have no facility to tell them, give me $10 and you could go up on the top of the thing and see the whole of Port of Spain.
Nothing.
Then we come and build a second tower, taller than that one. And we put that
Nothing.
inside there.
Nothing.
If you go by Nallis, I went there with my daughter and I asked the girl, I said, Miss, when is the next tour? She said, well, if you have a group, you could call and arrange. I said, Miss, do I have a tour like every 15 minutes at the library here?
Listen, we have to wrap
If I go to New York, I
I
could
know
do
we
that.
overstay in time and maybe we should have used a larger part of the conversation to talk, or maybe we could come back after the budget and after the debate and talk about all the things that he should have done, all the things that he could have done that could have made Trinidad and Tobago a better place. Right now, and as Felicia said to young people coming out, okay, I'll go take the extra $400. Yeah, I'll go and drink some more, I'll go and line some more. We become a nation where everything now is a reason to get drunk or get high. Because it's not a happy place.
So the Prime Minister went to ring Nasdaq bell. And what did he say to the world according to him? Trinidad is a place we have carnival and we have calypso. That's what he said, my Prime Minister.
When they
By
sit
the
down
way,
and-
who rang Nasdaq bell the day before, the day after?
we don't have a clue.
You know?
Nobody cares.
So who know when he ring the bell?
Listen,
Beside we.
the only thing that I know that he rang the bell and then the Nasdaq went down. So they might take him back. Listen, we had to bring this to a wrap. Let me give everybody some closing comments, Robert.
Well, it was indeed a pleasure. I mean, I think that unless the society that we live in doesn't wake up, come out of this numbness that they have been in for the last 20 years, if they do not take the responsibility to build the country that they want, we will not have the country that we all would like. It's unfortunate that that's where we are at this stage of our evolution. And coming out of this, if this budget does not develop trickle down economics, we could see
Stalling.
no, we could see, I want to use a word, we could see an infuriated society that after the next couple of months find out it ain't working and have a rebellion in our hands that we would not really want to see happen.
Clyde, I
Well,
wanna stick a pin on him right there. Because I don't want our conversation to go on.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is we don't want that for the country.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I know that you're ringing a bell and alarm. Clyde.
well, the reality is this is a vote buying budget. Here are some goodies, chicky come, and when you get the pay increase on the 1st of December 2019, when we call the election for local government the next week, come and vote for me, right? And this is a situation where, as far as the workers of this country is concerned, there's a wage freeze that will continue because no major negotiations are being settled. But you take the lowest that you could take and you give them a little 10% and say, here, take that, feel good. We have to have an economy in which we, the people, can decide what it is we're going to do with this economy. But we don't have that opportunity as long as we have this system of governance that could have somebody come and present this to us in 2019.
Yes, well, I am disappointed, and one thing I think a budget supposed to be give you hope, and this budget didn't give us any hope as a people. And as they say, the most precious and valuable resource in a country is the human resource. I didn't see anything in this budget to advance us as human beings, to advance the human resource in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, I mean, building off of what Gaston said, very disappointing budget. And from a social development perspective, particularly with the social decay that we have going on, I do not see anything really addressing that. He spoke about housing facilities for women. Felt like that was another sweetie that he threw out there, because we still don't know how these facilities are going to work, and then what does that leave for the Riverside Plaza, where the majority of people there are men. The whole function of government, I think, is the well-being of the people, and looking at the society that we have right now, we're not looking very positive. And again, another budget that has gone by and we don't see anything in terms of development, proper social development for the people and their well-being.
Well, I mean, there's not much more to add. The panel took it apart. They had their views. They had their say. I stand by my point, my reason for still doing this. There has to be a greater number of people in this country that want a better Trinidad and Tobago than those who think this is good enough. This budget to date underwhelmed. There is a divide, PNM UNC, that operates on the racist vote. So we expect every Zandoli to get in their hole, everybody to hold a corner, everybody to get in their section and speak from that position. But we here would like to speak from the position of what is in this for Trinidad and Tobago going forward down the road. All the visions for Trinidad and Tobago, where is it, where we as a people, what are we supposed to hold on to and hope for? What are we supposed to plan for? Nothing. There was nothing in this to say Trinidad is going in this direction or that direction. It's another placeholder budget. It's another opportunity to buy votes and seek hegemony in the parliament. But at the end of the day, if we continue to allow this to be what governs this country, then we'll get more CLICOs and more Petrotrins and more TSTTs and everything. We're running out. It's only a matter of time before your options are limited to government handout or nothing. Trinidad and Tobago is becoming an increasingly scary and frightening place. There was nothing about this budget today that changed that. And yeah, that's not good enough. But we'd like to thank all of you who tuned in to our take on this. And we have another show happening this week where we'll be dealing with crime, the justice system, and prisons. And we have guests from all of those industries. So until Wednesday, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.